Delhi, you watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. U.S. Iran talks pause for Iranian leader Khamenei's funeral. Iran warns U.S. against interference in Hormuz, even as Trump confirms speeding up of elimination of Iran's nuclear capabilities. After WhatsApp, India sends notice to Telegram Signal over username features, seeks answer on addressing concerns related to fraud and impersonation. As Europe continues to reel under heatwave and France battling with deadly wildfires, UN issues warning of extreme weather as El Nino set to be strong. And in FIFA World Cup, Spain is into the last 16 with a 3-0 win over Austria, while Portugal survived Croatia's scare with a 2-1 win. Iran said on Thursday that any U.S. interference in the Strait of Hormuz would trigger a decisive and rapid response, adding that the continued presence of U.S. air assets across the waterway endangered regional security. Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, which coordinates Iran's armed forces operations, said all tanker and commercial vessels must follow routes designated by Tehran for safe passage, adding that deviations or failure to comply with navigation protocols would face an immediate response. The United States and Iran have made positive progress during indirect peace talks in Doha, Qatar, as President Donald Trump claims Iran has agreed to just about everything we need regarding denuclearization. Trump told reporters that the denuclearization of Iran is moving along well and that the two nations are getting along very well despite a series of heavy U.S. airstrikes last week. And due to the death of Iran's former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, formal negotiations are briefly pausing. The next round of high-level meetings will be scheduled immediately following his funeral processions. And Bahrain's foreign minister condemned Iran over renewed ballistic missile and drone attacks on his country, speaking ahead of a UN Security Council meeting. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani said Bahrain had requested the meeting after Iran once again launched ballistic missiles and armed drones against civilian areas as a breach of commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding. He said Bahrain had endured hundreds of missile and drone attacks since February 28, targeting residential neighborhoods and civilian infrastructure. The attacks had killed 3 people and wounded hundreds, including women and children. The minister said Bahrain remained committed to peace, dialogue and stability, but would preserve its right to self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. And international delegates participated in a farewell ceremony for Iran's late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in Tehran on Friday as the Islamic Republic's ruling clerics prepare for days of mass funeral rites as a show of public devotion. Khamenei's funeral will begin in Tehran on July 4. He will be buried on July 9 after another procession in Mashhad near the tomb of the Imam Reza, a figure of great devotion in Iran. India will be represented by Governor of Bihar, Lieutenant General retired Syed Atta Hasnain, and Minister of State for External Affairs Pavitra Margarita for the funeral ceremony of late Supreme Leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The high-level representation in the ceremony underscores the importance of civilizational ties, including people-to-people connection between the two countries, providing a robust foundation to political and economic engagements. In Nigeria, at least 36 children and a staff member are missing after gunmen kidnapped them from a school in northeastern region. Desks and school bags were left scattered in classrooms at the Government Day Secondary School in the town of Lassa, Borno State, where students were seized during an ongoing national examination with test papers still on the floor. This is the third mass school abduction since May in Africa's most populous country and the latest in a series of mass kidnappings where armed groups have seized hundreds of students in recent years. Now, polling stations closed across Algeria on Thursday night for the People's National Assembly election, with turnout projected to hit an all-time low. Voter turnout reached only 11% nationwide and around 10% among overseas voters. By mid-afternoon, about 25 million eligible voters are choosing 407 lawmakers in the lower house of the parliament for a new 5-year term. Now, Venezuela is grappling with massive devastation after twin earthquakes measuring 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude struck within seconds, killing 2,595 people and leaving tens of thousands missing. In Carabaleda, La Guera, one of the areas hardest hit by Venezuela's twin earthquakes, a McDonald's has been repurposed into a makeshift field hospital. The former restaurant is now treating injured survivors as well as pets. Doctors, paramedics and volunteers took over the fast food restaurant in the chaotic aftermath of the disaster, converting its dining areas into zones, pharmacy spaces and treatment rooms. The improvised medical center inside the restaurant includes a triage area and a pharmacy. Veterinarians are also working on site treating injured animals alongside human patients. And India's humanitarian relief mission in Venezuela, Operation Amarnath, is receiving widespread praise as relief and medical support continue in earthquake-hit regions. The Ministry of External Affairs, Ranveer Jaiswal, says the Indian Army field hospital deployed under the operation is actively delivering medical care to affected Venezuelan communities, providing critical support to the survivors. Official spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal on social media platform X highlighted the mission, describing it as a helping hand and a healing touch. As Indian medical teams continue treating the injured and supporting local health services overwhelmed by the disaster, the initiative has been widely appreciated by local populations and international observers, with India's response being seen as a key contribution to ongoing global relief efforts in Venezuela. Moving on, India's renewable energy sector is emerging as a major driver of global partnerships, with international interest growing in the country's clean energy transition. A high-level delegation from Norway currently visiting India has identified the country's rapidly expanding solar sector as a key area for future collaboration. Here's a report.
A high-level delegation from Norway visiting India has identified the country's rapidly expanding solar sector as one of the biggest opportunities for strengthening bilateral cooperation. The officials noted that India is now the world's third largest renewable energy developer, making it an increasingly attractive partner for investment and collaboration. According to the delegation members, as India expands manufacturing across the entire solar supply chain, it has the potential to become a major exporter of solar products to European markets, including Norway.
So the biggest opportunity is, of course, the enormous growth in solar you have here. Very, very important for the global climate, very important for India, which has strong economic growth and uses more energy. But also for the rest of us, if India is able to build a manufacturing capacity on everything from from rare earth minerals to wafers and solar cells, it could be an exporter also to European countries like Norway.
Well, it's a very big opportunity, both for cutting climate emissions, but also for making new business possibilities. Companies and people will have to build a completely new system, larger grid, more generation of electricity. So it's really a lot of opportunities. And one of the biggest changes that I've seen is the fact that you have electric cars and electric buses on the roads of Delhi, which was not very common before, but now you see them popping up from time to time.
According to the Norwegian ambassador to India, despite being a small nation, Norway has built itself into an energy powerhouse, with nearly all its electricity coming from hydropower alongside decades of experience in oil and gas.
Well, in Norway, we are a quite small country, but we are an energy superpower. We've had oil and gas since the early 70s. We've had hydropower for about 100 years, and Norway's electricity almost solely based on hydropower. And the oil and gas adventure has also made us look at what could be the new solutions for the energy transition and for the future. So this means we have, and Norwegian companies have, really high-tech and very good solutions that they are looking to scale up here in India. And they're looking for partners to scale up with.
With the Norwegian delegation's visit across Delhi, Gujarat, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, ties between the two nations are expected to deepen further in the coming days as they look to strengthen cooperation on clean energy.
From Brazil to the United States, countries across the world are turning to ethanol to reduce their dependence on imported crude oil and strengthen energy security. India too has rapidly expanded its ethanol blending program, emerging as one of the global leaders in biofuels. But how does India compare with other major economies, and what lessons can be learnt? Our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya takes a closer look.
Every time international crude oil prices rise, countries like India feel the impact. A higher oil import bill means greater pressure on the economy, higher foreign exchange outgo, and concerns over energy security. But what if a part of the fuel powering our vehicles could be produced right here at home? That is exactly what ethanol blending is helping India achieve. By mixing domestically produced ethanol with petrol, India is gradually reducing its dependence on imported crude oil, while creating new opportunities for farmers, strengthening energy security, and supporting the country's clean energy transition. India has achieved 20% ethanol blending, years ahead of its original target. That means millions of liters of imported fossil fuel are being replaced every year with fuel produced by Indian farmers and Indian industries. According to Niti Aayog, this has the potential to save nearly $4 billion in crude oil imports every year. Less imported oil also means lower pressure on foreign exchange reserves and greater energy security. But India is not the first country to take this path. In Brazil, ethanol has been part of everyday life for nearly 5 decades. After the oil crisis of the 1970s, Brazil turned to sugarcane to fuel its vehicles. Across the Atlantic, United States has built the world's largest ethanol industry. Closer home, Thailand has emerged as Asia's ethanol success story. Drivers there can choose between E10, E20 and even E85 fuels. Using ethanol made from cassava and sugarcane, Thailand has reduced oil imports while creating a strong domestic biofuel industry. The Philippines, Canada and several other countries have also made ethanol blending a regular part of their fuel mix. India is reducing its dependence on imported oil and moving steadily towards a cleaner, stronger and more self-reliant energy future. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
And Indian Navy's P-8I long-range maritime reconnaissance and anti-submarine warfare aircraft has arrived in Honolulu, Hawaii to participate in the Rim of the Pacific exercise. This is one of the world's largest multinational maritime exercise being conducted from 1st to 31st July. The deployment reaffirms Indian Navy's commitment to a free, open, inclusive and rules-based Indo-Pacific while enhancing interoperability, maritime domain awareness and operational cooperation with partner navies. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. OpenAI weighs 5% U.S. government stake ahead of planned public listing. And Amarnath Yatra begins amid tight security. First batch of pilgrims reaches Kashmir Valley.
A patient in critical condition, a team racing against time. This patient is not a human being.
Rolling through Kolkata streets, this tree ambulance is emerging as a symbol of environmental action. It brings together both citizen initiative and institutional support.
This is our first stage of filtration. Here we alter the pH of the water and then take it to this media filters. One will remove the suspended solids present in the water, and post that there is a dosing system which is to reduce the scaling effect on the water, and the water will be gone through micron filters.
People like our farmers mostly focused, or all of the schemes or everything was driven towards NP&K, like the nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which led to the later in the imbalance of the fertilizers. We need to measure it to manage it.
It's very tasty, it's very good, it's cooked well, it's organic, that we relish it because of the taste. And this kind of authentic taste, it's very difficult for you to get this kind of taste anywhere else. It's with great pride that we say it belongs to our community.
Welcome back. You're watching DD Live. I'm Abhishek Mahaj and some more stories. OpenAI has discussed giving the U.S. government a 5% ownership stake as artificial intelligence giant seeks to smooth relations with the Trump administration. CEO Sam Altman has argued that giving the public a financial stake in the $852 billion company is the best way to share the benefits of AI. Altman has raised the idea in conversations with White House officials. The talks were described as in early stages, with any deal potentially requiring an act of Congress. The proposal comes as OpenAI is preparing for a public listing. The proposed arrangement would see other leading U.S. AI companies hand over a similar stake. And India has widened its scrutiny of messaging platforms with username-based communication, with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology issuing notices to Telegram and Signal days after directing WhatsApp to justify its proposed username feature and pause its rollout in India. The government is concerned that with the introduction of usernames meant to keep phone numbers private, there will be a spurt in online impersonation, fraud and digital arrest. There is apprehension that the anonymity will encourage crooks who will then commit crimes with impunity. An excitement marked the onset of the annual Amarnath Yatra in Jammu and Kashmir starting Friday, with the first batch of pilgrims arriving in the valley for the onward journey to the cave shrine. The 57-day pilgrimage will conclude on August 28th. The establishment has made tight security arrangements for the Yatra, with thousands of personnel deployed across the Union territory to ensure a violence-free event. Ahead of the pilgrimage, devotees gathered at the historic Gauri Shankar temple in Pahalgam, where tradition says every yatra begins. Here's a report.
This is the first temple where devotees pray before beginning their pilgrimage to the sacred Amarnath cave from Pahalgam. On Thursday, scenes of devotion played out at this revered Gauri Shankar Mandir in Pahalgam, with the traditional performance of Aarti ahead of the Amarnath Yatra that begins from Friday.
As you can see, this temple is called the Gauri Shankar temple. It is believed that Lord Shiv left Nandi Maharaj here. The Amarnath Yatra begins from here. Pilgrims offer prayers, participate in Aarti and Kirtan at this temple, and then proceed on their onward journey.
Devotees describe the Aarti as a deeply touching experience, leaving them emotionally moved as they prepared to begin the Amarnath Yatra.
Aarti here was truly wonderful. It touched my heart so deeply that tears came to my eyes. I felt really blessed. Aarti was performed beautifully and everyone here is so kind. They treat you just like their family.
The annual Amarnath Yatra, one of the country's most significant pilgrimages, attracts thousands of devotees from across India. The Yatra operates on two routes, one from Pahalgam and the other from Baltal. This year, the Yatra will conclude on August 28th on the occasion of Raksha Bandhan.
And Europe is enduring a severe heat wave as temperatures soar above 40 degrees Celsius, driven by a persistent high-pressure system blanketing large parts of the continent. Countries including France, Germany, Hungary, Spain and Slovakia are grappling with soaring temperatures, claiming lives and prompting urgent government warnings. More than 1,300 excess deaths have been recorded across Europe since June 21st, linked to high temperatures. Now, the Democratic Republic of Congo has begun the first clinical trial of 2 experimental treatments for the deadly Bundi-Buyo strain of Ebola, as the outbreak has infected 1,406 people and killed 438. The trial is testing the monoclonal antibody MBP-134 and the antiviral remdesivir, both individually and in combination. The first patient has already been enrolled. WHO said the study, initially being conducted in Ituri province, could run for several months and involve more than 1,000 patients. There are currently no approved vaccines or treatments for the rare Ebola strain. Sports updates now. We'll start with FIFA. Switzerland eased past Algeria 2-0 to book their place in the World Cup round of 16 with Bril Embolo and Dan Ndoye on target. The Swiss opener was crafted by 20-year-old Johan Manzambe, who surged down the left flank before drilling a low ball for Embolo to convert. Switzerland doubled their advantage a minute into the second half and Ndoye produced a composed finish. Switzerland, who were eliminated in the round of 16 in 2006, 2014, 2018 and 2022, will hope this time to break the cycle of disappointment. The 3 times World Cup quarterfinalists have not reached the last 8 since 1954. Another game in Spain cruised past Austria into the World Cup last 16, outclassing their opponents 3-0 with a brace from Mikel Oyarzabal and a Pedro Porro header. And Cristiano Ronaldo scored the first World Cup knockout stage goal of his career, and Gonçalo Ramos netted a stoppage time header as Portugal beat Croatia 2-1 to advance into last 16 of the World Cup. 41-year-old Ronaldo became the oldest player to score in the knockout stage of a World Cup when he fired home from the spot to draw Portugal level in the 68th minute of a pulsating game. In chess, world champion D. Gukesh defeated Dutch Grandmaster Anish Giri to rise to joint second spot after the second day of the Zagreb leg of the Grand Chess Tour in Zagreb, capital of Croatia. Iranian Grandmaster Firouzja Alireza is at the top by extending his lead by a huge 3 points. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sheikh Mahajan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.